you spoke to a bunch of people about whether the Bears have everything set up properly for Caleb Williams' coaching staff and everything else. And what did you glean from these conversations?
So myself and my colleague, Kevin Fishbein, our Bears writer, we spent a bunch of time talking to different people, from NFL quarterback coaches to people close to the Bears, about do they have like the right ecosystem basically to develop a talented young quarterback. And there's a lot to like for the Bears. I mean, you have now 2 elite receivers, you have a promising young tight end, and you have, they drafted a legit, offensive tackle in the first round last year. The roster is not bad, especially if you're taken in the top 5. The issues, though, are you have a new offensive coordinator, unproven. You also have, and this was a big deal to one of the NFL quarterback coaches I spoke to, who said, listen, it really matters who is in the room with a young quarterback, because if things aren't right, it can ruin a quarterback, especially if they're being asked to be the savior. And in this case, you have Brett Rippon is one guy, and the other guy
is Tyson Bagent,
who, despite the amazing arm wrestling pedigree, was an undrafted free agent last year. And so the question is going to be, if things aren't right for Caleb, who can he lean on? And who can tell him, hey, you got to do this or you need to do that? I mean, I don't know if it's going to land as well from the other guys in there. And, the guy he's most compared to, obviously, is Patrick Mahomes. But as somebody pointed out to me, Patrick Mahomes went into a very different situation. When he was a rookie, he had Alex Smith, who was a very well-respected, had done it, had been the first pick in the draft, by the way, and had spent a lot of time in the NFL. And then also the head coach and play caller is Andy Reid. That's not what he's going into in Chicago. Now, it's not to say he can't, turn into a great NFL quarterback, but some of the stuff around him is concerning. Let's put it that way.
So what was the consensus? Just a shrug emoji? We don't know if he's got the right
we'll see. Ecosystem? I mean, look.
Roster-wise, it sure looks like it's a nice setup.
It is, especially with the 2 receivers you're talking about. Right. The concern, though, is... and I think people need to read the piece to hear the perspective of a real NFL quarterback coach talking about what really matters when you're a young quarterback. It's not just, he has really good receivers, it's going to go great on Sunday. There's a lot more to it than that. And again, Patrick Mahomes is already a Hall of Fame quarterback at 28, but his situation very different. I mean, who's your head coach? Like, that stuff matters. Who's your offensive coordinator? Who's the play caller? That stuff really matters, especially for a young quarterback. And then who does he lean on, day to day? Who is he, eating his meals with? Who's talking him through stuff? It's not to say it can't work at the Bears, because the Bears previously, when they've, flubbed the first quarterback, taken, or first draft pick, they had some guys who, and the dynamic was off in the room, but that there's a reason why more than half the quarterbacks who go high in the draft don't live up to the hype. It's not because they don't have ability. I mean, Caleb has a ton of ability. It's just, how does the fit? And there's definitely stuff that Caleb needs to be broken from in terms of like the way he plays his play style right now. There's a lot of stuff to like, but as this one coach said, it's like he can do some amazing things, and that's great in college. But don't do that when Myles Garrett is rushing you. It ain't going to work. It's going to go really bad. So it's a big difference.
And what about the dynamic that Caleb Williams brings to the equation? And by that I mean, you have been covering this kid for a long time, and you know that this Thursday night is the moment that the entire Williams journey has been built towards making happen, and it's going to happen. He will be the first overall pick in this draft. Now that we're finally here, after all the conversation, if he wants a piece of the team, or he wants a piece of an agency, if an agent wants to hire him, and all of that stuff, what are your thoughts now that it's finally going to happen, and he's going to be in the care of a National Football League team that does things in a league that does things a certain way, and now Williams is about to walk in there? What are your 2 cents on now that we're finally going to see this happen?
I mean, look, congratulations to him and his family. It is a great honor to get that, but that's obviously not the end of the journey, right? And I think what is worth noting here, and I even mentioned Mahomes, and he's still in his 20s, but it was a different dynamic where where Patrick was playing in Lubbock, he was not on a team where anyone was expecting to do that much. But also what was way different is Caleb comes through the transfer portal world and the NIL world, and he did it in a major market, right? And so we haven't really seen anybody come through it in terms of where he's been and the stuff yet. Now, there's been guys who've had NIL deals, but it's different when Bryce Young has a national TV ad, but he's, you know, he had come in Tuscaloosa in a very structured place with Nick Saban, as opposed to where Caleb is in a major market. Mm-hmm. And I think the ask was very different. And again, I'm not making excuses for him, anything. I just think it's a really different situation. And I think how people, including the NFL evaluators, kind of process how he handled it or any of that, it's kind of murky, you know? I mean, and I say that because I think we're just at this stage now where it's very different than what it was 3 years ago. And again, this is a quarterback who did it in Los Angeles. It was not like Caleb stayed in a college town and, you know, had a national ad campaign, which he did, but there was a lot of other stuff that was going on with him. And I think he is a big personality. I think he's a bright young man. And I'm fascinated to see how it works out. I do think it's a great thing for him that he has, you know, 2 stud receivers that can go make plays for him. You just would like to see maybe, I don't want to say that, you know, and maybe a more proven people he leans on in terms of like who's calling the plays and who's in the room with him.
Interesting. And well, who could be on the team with him? He can get a 3rd stud wide receiver in short order as well, because they have the 9th overall pick. Bruce Feldman from The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.